So my favorite Kibsi use case is process monitoring, because you've got a customer that has a unique business process. They probably developed it over decades. It's like very organic, and it's just how they operate. And so they're not going to change that process. But you can use Kibsi and cameras to measure that process. And so I'd love to hear about how we're using kind of the primitives. What are the building blocks of Kibsi that let you mold to a specific business process?
Yeah, I think that's one of the powers of Kibsi, is that take something as simple as loading a truck, right? Someone who isn't running a warehouse or distribution center, it seems really naive in terms of, well, you take the product and put it on there. But what we've seen is even in something that seems so simple as loading a truck, there's a lot of variability in the way people approach those problems. The types of products that they're handling dictates that, the volume that they're running, the frequency that the trucks may be coming or going. And all of those real world situations require different approaches in the process. Sometimes we have customers where it's very automated, everything comes down a conveyor belt, lands on a truck. Other times they're manually loading things for one reason or another. We can't very well go and ask them to, hey, can you just put that on the conveyor belt, or can you do this? Because there's very important reasons that they run the process the way they do. So Kibsi being able to adapt to something, again, seemingly so simple, to support their business case and their scenarios is really what drives that success for the customers.
How does Kibsi enable that adaptation? So if I have 3 customers with 3 different use cases or 3 different workflows, how do I describe that in a way that can work across all those customers?
Well, one of the key ways we do it is by breaking down the problems into a few chunks. So the first, obviously, is for everyone is just processing video, which is not a trivial problem, but one that's sort of handled out of the box for Kibsi. The next one is detecting objects using computer vision machine learning models. And what we do, which is a little bit different than I think others, is we try to detect as small a unit with the models as possible. So for example, if we're looking for someone loading a box onto a conveyor belt, one approach would be to build a model that detects exactly that scenario. That's not scalable though. That model is likely only going to work for that customer in that use case. What we do instead is we detect the box, we detect the person, and we define this notion of, within our low-code platform, we define this notion of loading onto the conveyor belt. And now what we've done is we've taken these 2 primitives and added a lot of power to them, where one customer may use it to detect the box alone, one customer may use it to detect the worker, and another one yet may use it to detect that action of loading the box. And it's that sort of flexibility, those real world things that happen that our approach solves.
Even if you have something that has less complex process, like maybe it's a product quality, so tell me if I built this widget correctly or not, where does the Kibsi platform value come into those use cases?
Yeah, so again, there's obviously the video processing, which I don't want to forget about. It's not easy to do real-time video processing, especially for something like product quality, which you may be doing at relatively high speeds. Ultimately, there's going to be a model there that's detecting the anomaly, whether it's something out of place, whether it is not matching specs. And that is the model doing the heavy lifting there, and the customer can bring that model. If they have one, we can help them build it, or however it gets into the platform, Kibsi will use it. What Kibsi adds on top of it is things like exception handling logic. So maybe it's okay to have a certain error rate. Well, if we're detecting the errors, we can also count that error rate over a period of time. So maybe you can have 1 error per hour, and that's fine. Maybe 2 to 5 errors is someone should keep an eye out, maybe something's going on. Maybe over 5 is an immediate shutdown. You can build that logic all through the Kibsi UI to handle those exceptions. So even for something that seems like it's all being handled by the model, Kibsi and its workflow and its ability to customize allow us the ability to customize that to the process and the use case.
Right, so my model might encompass my special object or my defect I'm interested in, but I need a place to run that model and to run it in real time and then to do something with the outputs.
Right, yeah, your widget is your widget and probably doesn't look like anyone else's widget, but what happens then? And that what happens then part is a key challenge of computer vision that people forget about. They just focus on the model, but that's not the end of the story.
Right, and so that's kind of the gap between the Jupyter Notebook from an ML engineer to something you can deploy at 100 locations across 1,000 lines.
Yeah, exactly. Because even within one company, those 100 locations are going to have differences due to how, the organic nature, the way people build things, right? So one facility may have done something one way, the second facility realized there's a slightly better way of doing it. Now those two don't look the same. So you need a level of flexibility in your process in order to make sure it works everywhere.